Hey folks, it is January the 19th, and today we're talking about two chapters. Chapters 106, which is over the printing press and how it's going to change Europe, and chapter 107, which is over art in the Italian Renaissance. And so we're going to go over these two today. Now, we're not going to have a lecture tomorrow because it's highly possible we're going to have a ninth grade benchmark kind of spill over, and I'm going to be giving that in my room. And so no lecture tomorrow, okay? But just as a heads up, we are going to have a test next week. I'm planning on it to be on Thursday, and I'll fill you in later on what that test is going to be over. But that's over a week from now. We have plenty of time to get ready and all that good stuff. So we only have 2 questions up on the board. Shh, guys. How did printing change Europe? And what changed in Italian art? Now, first off, I've got some images for the day. So, printing is often credited with being invented in China. Hey, Kelly, you're going to put that on for now. As you see, printing is essentially it's essentially block printing. And so, like, if you ever taken like an art class as a kid, you take like those little rubber blocks. You take like a little knife and you can like carve out the design, and then you have a stamp. It's a simple. Hey, Robert, you got to turn your whole body around, okay? It's essentially just making stamps. If you ever like a little kid, you had like a little stamp pad, you had like a little rubber stamp, like I don't know, like a teddy bear holding a heart or something.
You would stamp it on stuff.
Yeah, stamp it on stuff, or yourself, or your dog, like that. So,
Maybe if you
shaved your dog first, have a good stamped dog.
Why would you want a hairless chihuahua? It just looks like a rat.
I don't really care. It's their attitude, really. Hey, so all right, folks. So literally, hey girls. So literally, you would take these stamps, which we call type, and they can be arranged in different ways. The characters, and of course, this could also be used for pictures and things like that. As we see here. So here we see in this Buddhist manuscript, you can see this whole picture here could be one stamp that could be used over and over. But then you would have type, each one representing a word in this figure here that could be moved around. Of course, Arabic people would then pick it up, and it would be used quite extensively then. Oh man, I forgot that for a second. There you go, Buddhist manuscript. So this is something that really started in the East, and it's going to move out into the West. And of course, printing is also going to lead to the invention of paper making. And so that's what this guy's doing here. He's taking wood pulp and glue, and then he's putting it into this kind of like a tray, like a thin layer of it. And when it dries out, he's able to peel it off and hang it up to dry. And then he has paper. If need be, he can scrape off the rough edges to make it more smooth. Of course, Muslims who had conquered Sicily and through much of Spain were able to bring this and printing into Europe. And of course, they're going to take this on, and Europeans are going to take and make what we call the printing press. And this is going to be an invention in Germany by a man named Johann Gutenberg. So instead of taking movable type and slowly just having it act as a stamp, they're able to have the type go in under, and they're able to put in one sheet at a time. And see, this is a big screw, and they crank down on it to press the paper onto it to try to make sure that it's cleaner and it's really through the paper. They're able to do this relatively quickly. If you remember, I told you that just to make one Bible could take several hundred baby sheepskins, right? Vellum, which is very thin, long-lasting leather.
I thought he was going to say babies too.
No, not humans, not humans. No, that'd be like super gross. But there actually is in some museum a book actually made out of human skin. I forgot what it was.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. I saw it on a show once. So, by using wood pulp to make paper, well, not only are you saving those sheep, but also it's super cheap, and so people can afford that. Um, it's pretty durable, but it's not as durable as say parchment or vellum was, because that could last for centuries. Paper rots pretty quickly, but the paper they made back then actually lasts longer than the paper we make now. Um, so here's an example of movable type print that they could use to make words. This is also going to lead so that it's more readable to common people. They're also, in Italy, they're going to invent punctuation, commas, question marks, exclamation marks, periods, stuff like that. That didn't exist before then. It was only during the time of Charlemagne that they invented spaces in between words. Now they're going to invent a way for you to tell when a sentence ends. So that was pretty useful, made reading a lot more simple for other people. This is Johann Gutenberg's printing press, which he used to famously make the first printed book in Europe, the Gutenberg Bible. This, of course, it's a Latin Bible, but it was more affordable. And the Bible is going to be the most printed book throughout the world, throughout most of history. The second most printed books were like picture books for people who weren't literate. Yeah, like a lot of, it's just like telling a story through pictures. Yeah, people who can't read. They're usually like bawdy jokes or like other stuff. During this time as well, they're also going to invent other things such as italic and different fonts that we think of today. And so, and it's called italics because it came from Italy. So you guys can put that together. So still use that. And like bookmaking is going to be revolutionary. Bookmaking is going to be something that like everyday people who, maybe not the poorest farmers, but maybe the guy who runs the mill or the person who makes a little bit of extra cash, who's more like middle class. They can take a few lessons from somebody who knows how to read in town. Next thing you know, they're off reading books about different countries, about knowledge and history, about art, about religion, especially religion. And it's going to lead to a lot of new thoughts and ideas. It's going to lead to people's growing idea for independence, for liberty, and also personal salvation. Art's going to take many changes as well. So we're going to move away from the Gothic style that we learned about like in December into more like a neoclassical style. And so remember, the Renaissance is based off of learning the successes of human beings throughout the ancient Greeks and Romans to try to regain some of their past knowledge. Well, it's going to come back with style as well in the art because they were so much better than, say, medieval artists, right? And so we're going to see a resurgence in like the Roman dome, as we see here. And this is like these are out of your book. Like this is Cupola of St. Peter. And of course, it's also, like they said, it's going to come up with like the Greek columns and stuff like that, kind of like you would see in like the Parthenon. Of course, you got some of the artists who are going to come back and regain some of the sculpting work that was known in ancient Rome. See, like ancient Greeks are very well known for their statues, but most ancient Greek statues aren't around anymore because they would make them out of bronze. And the thing is, over time, people would melt down the bronze and sell the bronze, destroying the art. A lot of what we have left over of ancient Greek artwork is Roman copies, and the Romans preferred to make marble statues, marble copies. Well, Michelangelo is going to grow up as a young man, he's going to spend a lot of his time carving marble, and he's going to spend a lot of time experimenting with it and discovering ways how to like recreate human anatomy. And so this is supposed to be King David after he slays Goliath with his sling and all that. He's like, "Yep, I knocked your head off." Here's Moses, and I don't know what these dilly-dillies are on top of his head, but like that is like, it's like a Jamaican beard. It's like dreadlock beard. But like compared to statues before this time, I should have showed medieval examples of statues. because medieval statues were extremely cartoonish and blocky. Very few human features, just basic things. But here you see, like the statue has emotion, it has definition. It's a bit idealized, but still, it's like the idea of like the Romans and the Greeks trying to recreate human form in kind of like the most perfect way possible, right? Not just. It's like being realistic, but perfectly realistic, I guess. Of course, then we have Leonardo da Vinci, famous inventor, and like all these other things, but also artist. And so, in the Vatican, he's commissioned to make this giant, just mosaic of artwork, essentially creation all the way to Armageddon. And so we have all these paintings all over this. Him and, of course, his helpers who would help finish the work would just stay on scaffolding, making all of these paintings. And, of course, famous one is Creation of Adam. It's like, hey, wake up. Okay. And following that, we have, what's this? No, this is Da Vinci. That was Michelangelo earlier. See, I'm not an art guy. All right, so then we have Michelangelo's The Last Supper, which I like. These are later Renaissance paintings. If you look at some of the earlier ones when they were experimenting with like depth and things like that, and see like look at the angles. How this brings it in. It draws your attention all perfectly into the center here, Jesus. And then you have everything else here, like the disciples. Of course, he also created the Mona Lisa, very well known for her lifelike and expression. I think there's like some mystery on like who exactly was this woman and stuff like that. But you see, it's very soft and blended in. It's not hard edges. There's very detailed background all throughout this, but it's also her as well. Like that looks like a person, not like a picture of a person. Of course, who was the next artist in here? Then you had Raphael, you had Sistine Madonna. Once again, lifelike and idealist. But you see their faces, like they're just kind of round. It's like you might find in like Roman paintings. And they did still have some Roman paintings that were left in relief from ancient homes and stuff that they could study. And that's how a lot of the Renaissance artists learned how to paint. They would literally like sit in churches or sit in Roman ruins and try to copy what the Romans. And you would just have teams of young men just there trying to copy what the Romans did, trying to figure it out. Here we have his transfiguration of Jesus. And here you have his disciples going, what's going on here? Moving on from there, who was next? Was this? Yeah, this is Titian with the Assumption of Mary. And so in Catholic tradition holds that Mary didn't die, that she was brought up in heaven before her death, kind of like a couple of the ancient Hebrew prophets. So we're going to go get carried up. And this is our last one, Correggio, and this is Holy Night. Here we have Christmas Day or night. And so you notice there's all the same theme here. The same theme here for these artists is it's all religious material. Now, not all of it was that. Now, you also had like places like in Florence, like these were commissioned by churches. These were commissioned by people like the Pope and stuff like that, who had a lot of wealth and they could afford the best artists. But the best artists wanted to do these things for them because they wanted their stuff to last throughout history, right? They wanted a big name for themselves as well. And they wanted something that had a higher meaning. But there were other artists, which weren't included in our readings, that would actually try to recreate Roman and Greek myths, such as the birth of Venus and stuff like that. So there were other artistic topics. There was a lot of paintings made of people's portraits, for well-to-do people, of course, and stuff like that. So this isn't like just all of it. It's just like some of the high points from our readings. So, but the big point is that you're starting to see like a level of skill return, and even surpass that in some ways, especially with painting. It would surpass in many ways the ancient people. Whereas maybe not so much, maybe it was more on par when you're looking at like the statues, but the architecture was definitely more detailed, I guess. So, all right, a lot less simple. So here, so how did printing change Europe? It didn't. It did.
Gave us to more, you would say, quicker books coming out.
Okay, yeah. Let's see, fast bookmaking. Yeah, it was also cheaper, right? More access. Yeah, you're right. Two books for most anyone. Now, we're going to talk more about this as we get to the process of Reformation, because eventually you're going to have some church officials are going to be like, whoa, hold up. Some people are reading scriptures and getting like strange ideas, right? And so I got a book here somewhere. It's on an Italian guy who he somehow, through his studying scriptures and and he would combine it with some Greek philosopher, I forgot who, he came up with an assumption that the world was actually made of cheese.
What?
And that there was like a bunch of giant worms underground. And so like inquisitors would hear these kind of confessions from people and be like, oh my gosh, we got to stop people from reading so much. They're getting crazy. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I don't really remember how he came to that conclusion, but yeah, the name of the book is The Cheese and the Worms. It's a really good book. It was like weird. So fast bookmaking, cheap, more access to books for most anyone. And it's going to be an information explosion, right? Like they say the same thing happened when the internet came out. All of a sudden, like you had access to information all the time. So yeah, it's really going to lead to, as we're going to see later on, it's going to lead to so many people having like new ideas, but also rediscovering old ideas. Like, wow, we can apply that to our life. Why are we living like this? And so, especially like when you think about how people were, most people back then, especially before the printing press, they would not ever leave their whole life. They never went 10 miles away from their home. They never got news from other places. They just didn't know, they had no connections to other people. So what changed in Italian art? Our second question. Nothing? Nothing?
They went from Byzantine
Yes.
art, like stiff art, to more flowy stuff.
Yeah, I went from, here, let's combine that. Byzantine / Gothic. They're not similar, but Gothic covers architecture. To more, what again?
Like soft and flowy, like more human.
More definition.
Yeah, soft, lifelike art. Yeah, and this is going to like Byzantine art amazed ancient people who didn't have any art. Like came from Russia, and all they knew about were like bears and like sticks and stuff. And they're gonna come, they'll go to Constantinople. No, not yet. They're gonna go to Constantinople, and they're just gonna see the Byzantine art and be like, wow, it's amazing. But then it's gonna get even better. And the better art gets, the more entranced and inspired people get from it. And you can't really put a price tag on art, because art draws people to go see it. Italian art will get so good, you're going to start having a lot of tourists come up just to go see Italian art. Kind of like today. It's going to build a tourist industry that's going to be priceless because tourists bring money and money accumulates over time. Kind of like people talk about, yeah, it's going to cost millions of dollars to rebuild Notre Dame. But how many millions and millions of dollars did it bring to France when just through tourism and stuff like that? So yeah, it's going to be a massive change, massive change. That's pretty much that. Not too complicated. But hopefully I'll learn more about it from Miss Smith because she's like an art person. All right, folks, that's going to end it for today. No lecture tomorrow, but we will have one on Thursday. So see you later.